Oh, welcome back, you wacky wizards, to the Bad Pipes podcast.
We here.
With me
We in
today,
this.
as you can tell, it's me and Isaac today. Scott is, I think, rolling in the mud or possibly sucking down a new sickness. I'm sucking down a Red Bull.
I'm drinking water.
So
I'm still ill.
We thought this was going to be a pretty chill episode. We would just talk about Lumberjack the Monster, Takashi Miike film that's on Netflix, and episode 4 of The Acolyte. And we had to postpone the podcast by a day, and boy howdy am I glad we did, because there's been some big news.
Lots of stuff. Lots of stuff happening. Let's
get to the safest topic first.
Good way to put it.
The safest topic first. Lumberjack the Monster. So this is a pretty interesting little movie. Opens up with a lady cutting her throat after the cops have raided her house and found a bunch of, supposedly, the remains of a bunch of children, as well as one live children. First things first. Big dramatic blood splatters in this movie. That was probably my favorite part. It was like the movie took itself so seriously, and then randomly there'd be like blood splatter. It's like a jet of red water hitting a fucking wall or something. Oh man, classic Miike.
That's what I was about to say. Classic Miike.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking for next week we make Scott watch Ichi the Killer.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it's on like
Tubi
or somewhere. That was my introduction to him, and I watched that movie I think 15 years old or so.
I remember when we worked at Smoothie King and we started hanging out. You were like, "Have you ever seen Ichi the Killer?" I was like, "Yeah." You were like, "Dude, that movie's fucked up."
The title card is like, come on a fucking plant.
Yeah, collusion on a rose.
You can't tell me that's not fucked up. That enough right there is like an X rating for most film rating systems, I think.
That's it right there. That's when you know. That's how you know you're there. You've started. You've entered the world of the Japanese film industry.
Oh yeah, yeah. But no, I watched that on like IFC on demand or something, like fucking 15 years ago probably.
Okay.
I remember watching it and being like, this is crazy. But this movie, Lumberjack the Monster, much more tame. Very tame movie.
Way more tame. Way more Netflix.
Yeah. For sure.
More cookie
cutters. I
almost
felt like this was taking inspiration tonally from like, I don't think I've watched very many like Japanese drama type shows, but like K-drama type shows. Like I was watching, I was like, these guys could be like a K-pop band or something.
Yeah, the like big difference I feel between traditional like American drama, like televised drama, and the Japanese and Korean drama is that theirs are far more melodramatic, like off the jump and like all the way through. Like the music stings and the like facial expressions and just like all of it is like way more over the top, which is, you know, super entertaining, but also it can't, you know, there is a level of it that's like...
Yeah, it's why sometimes whenever you have like Korean actors come over to American shows, and I'll be talking about this with The Acolyte, sometimes their performances don't quite feel tonally in line with like the American show.
Yeah.
Not to say that they're bad, I just feel like it's a little not correctly set in a place, if that makes sense. Square peg in a round hole. Round hole in a square peg. Peg hole. Pegging.
Ooh.
Luckily,
what
no one
would
gets
you,
pegged in this movie, but
Nope.
we do get some. We got like a little pair of serial killers. We got fucking microchips and brains. We got a mask-wearing axe maniac. It was pretty cool overall. It's 2 hours long. I didn't feel like the pacing was that bad.
No.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was just it was like a very, like, this is a good movie. Not like a, dude, this movie's fucking good, but like...
Yeah, it was just fun.
Was
it was good, enjoyable. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Like, didn't make me think too deep. I did kind of feel like it was saying, like, there's two kinds of psychopaths. The first kind is the truly fucked kind. The other kind is, like, people who had horrific childhood trauma and they can be fixed. So it's like there's the ones you can't fix, and then there's like the ones who had trauma, and if they work through their trauma, they can fix it and not be psychopaths.
Yeah.
I was like, that's an interesting moral, I guess. Shrug.
If you want to call it that.
Is it a moral story? Because it is like a child book is being read throughout it, so you're like, here's the moral.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's a moral story.
Yeah, it's the parable of Lumberjack the Monster. He's just making friends.
He's just he's just a lumberjack who happens to accidentally shot people every once in a while. It's a total accident.
I did find it very interesting. I think George Lucas would describe it as like thematic rhyme. So you've got oh shoot, what's the guy who ends up being the monster? It's like, is his name Takashi?
Yeah, I think.
So you have him, and he gets out of this like forced psychopathic state, and what does he do? He starts like killing psychopaths.
As one does.
And then you juxtapose that to the main character. Oh fuck, what was his name? I'm dead. My brain's dead. I like just got off of work an hour ago, and now I'm trying to like do this.
When you do these things, I watched it like 2 days ago, 3 days ago. When was Saturday? I do not remember the main character's name. Pull up IMDb. There you go.
No, Akira.
There you go.
His name's Akira Ninomiya. Ninomiya. He's played by Kazuya Kamanashi. You can tell I'm moving to Japan soon because I speak it so well.
Fluent. You're fluent.
Yeah, Shota Somatani is his little psychopath pal.
Wow, you're so good at this.
Rion Yuzuki.
Keep going, don't stop.
Shido Nakamura. Kohiko Shibukawa.
Okay,
I'm just saying actors in the movie.
Yeah, you should stop now.
Anyway, Akira kind of goes through the same thing. Like, gets his brain slapped and by an axe, the back of the head of the axe, and he starts being like, "Whoa, I feel shit. I'm not a psychopath." What?
It's just such a funny like plot device for him to like get hit in the head, and now he's like, "Oh no, I'm no longer morally. I've changed because I got a head injury."
Yeah, it just goes to show if there's a criminal or something, you hit him in the back of the head with the back of an axe, and you might fix him. You might fix him, or you might do the world service. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it was a silly, fun movie. I think it definitely, like, there's some movies like that on Netflix where I'm like, man, like, if they just focused on these types of movies and churned these out, just like good, fun little movies, then
just like a solid performance, like a solid story.
It'd be so much better. Instead, they're doing like 350 million on like whatever that Dwayne Johnson, Gal Gadot, Ryan Reynolds monstrosity was. And it's like, guys,
350 million on that.
It was 250 or 350 or something like that. Yeah, it was insane.
Good God.
Yeah, and then that movie, The Gray Man, they blew another like 300 million on that, and that wasn't good either. I don't know. Wild. They just need to stop doing that. But they're not going to. They're not going to.
Yeah, so like Lumberjack the Monster, I would recommend it. I mean, don't expect like a life-altering story out of it, but I think it's like a solid 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd say solid 6.5, 7, somewhere around there.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Acolyte, Episode 4.
Ooh, baby, you go first.
4. This episode. After last week, I think I was like too stunned by how cringe just the whole thing was to be like actually mad at it. This episode made me mad for some reason. Like the composition of this episode made me fucking angry. Because it's like, I think the runtime of this, like, the actual like run of the episode is like 28 minutes, right? And like nothing fucking happens, dude. It's a bunch of yapping. It's a bunch of fucking yapping. We go from here, we go to there. There's walking. It's boring. There's a bug. Oh, someone brought their lightsaber out, but it wasn't exciting whatsoever.
Well, I can tell you something that happened. One of the strongest force pushes I've ever seen in a fucking movie ever happened.
Yeah, and that's the end of the episode, so it's like there's nothing for me to... Like, this episode, I legitimately was like, God, dude, I don't even feel like watching this. And it was the first time that, like, watching a Star Wars show, despite the fact that many of them have just been, like, super fucking boring dog shit. This was the first time where I was like, this actually feels like a fucking chore to like sit down and watch this. Like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I would rather be watching like World War II history videos on YouTube than...
Hey, don't knock those. Those are really entertaining.
I'm not knocking those. Those are better entertainment than this.
Those are better entertainment than most things. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. That's... Unironically, yes. I've been watching...
Yes.
I've watched just about every video that the Fat Electrician has put out.
You've entered your...
Nick, by the way.
You have... You don't have children, but you've entered your dad phase.
I've been in my dad phase.
That's true. You have for a long
time.
Very true.
Yeah, so... Did I miss any plot points? Oh yeah, the Wookiee gets fucking slashed off screen. So the Wookiee dies off screen.
Very quickly.
Osha goes from like, I'm leaving the Jedi who I've been trying to help, or have been trying to help me, or whatever. She goes from that to like, hey, if I can't kill my sister, you have to Fjorden Jordan hairy guy. I'm dying right now. Talking about this episode is literally killing me.
I can tell. It's not good for you.
So, she's like, you're gonna have to kill her because I can't, and Sol won't. And then, May fucking Ewok traps Kamir, and he's hanging upside down, and is like, I'm leaving. Bye. I'm going to go turn myself into the Jedi.
Yeah, I'm not bad anymore, even though I murdered a Jedi 3 episodes ago.
2
Jedi.
2 Jedi.
Yeah.
Back
I'm actually good now.
Jedi murderer.
I'm actually good now, please.
Yeah, just fucking ridiculous. Like, what a ridiculous fucking plot point.
Yeah, real bad. Real bad.
Just like who's like, oh yeah, we're not gonna go slow with this. It's literally gonna be like one episode. One episode she's killing Jedi and shit, sees her sister. Next episode, entire episode is flashback. And you're like, well, that was stupid. Next episode, character has like altered their entire motivations. Like,
Pray
not
they
like
don't
a
alter it
shift in
further.
motivations. It's just a full 180 degree turn on her motivations.
Yeah. Very strange.
Yeah. So she does that, runs off, finds the Wookiee, chest slash. Also, first time in a long time that we've seen that a lightsaber can actually kill someone.
Yeah.
I really love that they did it off screen. That was a fantastic creative choice for them. Tripping with sarcasm.
Again, I can tell.
Oh, guess what, guys? We're putting a Wookiee Jedi in here. You ready to see the Wookiee Jedi just go ape shit? Too bad. Usurped your expectations.
It was such a weird choice to kill the Jedi, especially when they shot it, right? Because it was in the trailer.
Mhm.
So, like, they shot the fight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
And
they
so
shot the fight.
To choose
And they
to
cut
cut
the
it,
fight.
yeah. To choose to cut the fight and focus on a completely unmotivated character change for May was a weird choice. And then Osha having her character change, hers wasn't unmotivated, but the scripts it's just not well written. Like,
Yeah,
it's honestly
bad.
like, it's not any of the actors' fault that the scripts are bad. It's not. The scripts are just bad.
Yeah. And actually, on Twitter, one of the writers for this episode in particular, there was some controversy. Surprise, surprise. Because people were asking them questions and they were just like giving answers. And one of the questions they asked was like, why'd you not let us see the Wookiee Jedi like fighting anyone? She's like, actually, we filmed all that stuff, but we had to cut it for budgetary reasons. Had to cut it for budgetary reasons? Dude. Other shows are out here giving their show $200 million for 10 episodes. They're an hour each. This show has a 28-minute episode with a budget of $20 million. And they couldn't put like an extra 5 or 6 minutes of like a fight in there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, it makes me feel like they were just fucked on the way they shot this stuff, because like if you couldn't edit it into like a 45-minute episode that like carried the narrative, totally made sense. Like,
Leslie
Jesus
Headland
Christ,
said that
dude.
episode or a lightsaber fight in this show that rival and fight from fans, right? That was one of the things she said in an interview during like the pre-hype of this show.
Yeah, it was the fights were gonna be as good as the fights in Phantom Menace.
Yeah, but specifically she said there's one that she feels like is up there, and don't know if that's what the next episode's going to be, if it's just going to be one giant fight or it's going to happen. But it's also clear to me that the light is not May or Osha. It's whoever this master is not the master. They are the apprentice, right? That's what they're hinting at here, I think.
Yeah, that's what everyone's been saying is like, yeah, the mask guy is going to be Khmer, but Khmer is not the master, he's the apprentice. Is basically the only theory I've heard that makes any sense.
Yeah,
he's basically just doing the Sith thing where like the apprentice starts looking for their apprentice before they're actually the master or whatever, you know. So
well,
that's
right.
like,
Right, it's like in the canon, supposedly Palpatine killed Plagueis at the same time that Darth Maul was killed by Obi-Wan, right? So like he, you know what I mean? Like that's supposedly the timeline. And
that's a weird timeline.
It is a weird timeline, but that would make sense, right? Because there can only be two, right? So at that point, the two after Maul and Plagueis are gone, would have been Sidious and Tyrannus, or Count Dooku, right?
Yeah.
So it's just interesting. But I mean, honestly, this is the other thing too. All of the like fucking with canon stuff. George fucked with his own canon all the time. He used to do shit like that constantly. The canon stuff in like messing with the canon, that doesn't necessarily bother me as much. Like the whole young Ki-Adi-Mundi thing, like whatever. Like it doesn't. It's whatever. Like George, like I said, used to fuck with that stuff all the time. But what bothers me more than anything is just the bad writing, the bad character motivations, the bad character, the bad plot pacing. Like that's bad.
Well,
That's
I
what
don't
bothers
get why did they have to put Ki-Adi-Mundi into this whatsoever, right? Like, oh, there was some goofy dark side shit going on like 100 years ago, you know? Because like,
well, that's part of the bad writing, right? Is because the good writing version of this would have been, oh, who's the one person in the Phantom Menace who doesn't say the Sith hasn't been seen in over a millennia? Let's put them in here, not the guy who says that line.
yeah, because like Qui-Gon has this fight with Darth Maul on Tatooine, and he immediately is like, there's not a doubt in my mind that he's a Sith, right? Like, he's skilled in the Jedi arts. There's not a doubt in my mind that he's a Sith. Or like, he says something along those lines. And it's like, okay, so even if Darth Maul wasn't like 100% like Sith religious whatever sect, right? It's just like, he's a dark side user who's very powerful and is very skilled in our arts. Our umbrella term for that is Sith, right? So if you got this fucker 100 years ago who's like, oh, I'm gonna fucking float. I love everyone saying I'm gonna Mary Poppins my way down. Mary
how he
Poppins
floats
his way down. Yeah. Has his... Dude, this is another thing. Design choices. The helmet looks fucking stupid. I hate the helmet.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Because, like, when you're seeing little glimpses of it in, like, the trailers and whatnot, you're like, another, like, Kylo Ren clone or something like that. But then, like, you get the really close-ups on it in this, and I'm like, dude, this is trash. It's like...
It's just Chainsaw Man. It looks like Chainsaw Man.
Yeah, And also, why
did you ever watch Chainsaw Man?
Person wear a fucking mask now?
To hide their
No.
identity.
Yeah, but you could wear a soft mask. You don't have to wear a fucking helmet. Not everyone has to wear a helmet. And you're going to fight with a lightsaber, unless you're going to sit here and tell me that the mask is Beskar or something and wrap it back into the Mandalorian, and then like in Mandalorian he's going to like find the helmet and be like, I can melt this down for my armor.
The helmet is just, it's like, it's to keep his identity hidden because it's Khmer and that's supposed to be some sort of surprising twist. But it's not, because we all know it's him.
I just can't wait to be surprised by it whenever they surprise us with it.
Surprise. Surprise, surprise, surprise.
So, speaking of retcons,
let's go.
To conclude with the Acolyte episode, dog shit. Literally made me angry.
Somebody said on Twitter, somebody posted, I just took my dog out for a walk and he took an Acolyte on the sidewalk.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Bad news, bear.
So, famous YouTube Star Wars content creator, fan content creator, Star Wars Theory, was doing a like immediate review of like watching the episode. And he started getting spammed with messages that Wikipedia in real time with the episode was altering the Wikipedia page for Ki-Adi-Mundi.
To make it work.
Basically like changing the canon of the character to make it work, because old canon says this particular alien species has a similar lifespan to that of humans. Apparently, he's like 60 years old, I think, or so in
Yeah.
Phantom Menace.
Yep.
So they changed his birthday.
Now
And
he's
how long he lives.
200 and something.
Yep.
Right?
I don't even know. I was so mad. Anyway,
Now he's
a
an
bunch
old
of people
dog.
went on Wikipedia and they kept trying to change his birthday back. And some unhinged individuals were like, as part of their edit notes for it, being like, basically saying like, allegedly, because we never saw like proof of this. I don't feel like it's outside the realm of possibility, but allegedly some people who are making edits to the page as part of their like editorial notes or whatever for the edit were saying things like, I hope you and your pets die, which is unhinged.
Yeah, wildly inappropriate.
Yeah, like that's fucking insane. Don't say
do that.
shit like that.
Yeah. About anything.
Yeah, about anything. All right.
Just
anything.
bad form.
But then the editors of Wikipedia, and actually Wikipedia themselves on Twitter, blame Star Wars Theory and his fan base for this. We're like, oh, you told them to go change the stuff and like whatever. Like basically saying that he sent his fans to give them death threats. And in the same tweets where they're saying this, you know, they saying be respectful, be kind, or like I forget what his little catchphrase is.
Yeah.
But it's like be respectful, don't harass.
They were
these
like,
people,
that's not
whatever it
enough.
is. They're like, that's not enough. What else can he say at that point?
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous.
And also, like I've watched his stuff off and on for years. I've never seen him say anything even close to like harass these people or anything like that. Even whenever the Pablo Hidalgo stuff came out and Pablo Hidalgo was like taking jabs at him.
Yeah, he was like
Wars
making
Theory.
fun of him for crying during the end of Mandalorian Season 2, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, whenever Luke comes back. Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, you know, making fun of him for that, which is just ridiculous.
It's so low.
It is. Pablo Hidalgo's always been kind of a dick, though.
Oh, yeah. Well, you are what you eat, so. Anyway, Star Wars Theory made a video coming back where he essentially said, look, what you're doing is what you're saying is fucking ridiculous. Like, he put out a whole long little tweet saying, I've gotten more death threats than anyone. Like, I would never encourage people to do that.
Yeah, I watched the YouTube video.
But then he also made a video basically saying, if you guys keep saying this kind of stuff, I am going to take legal action because
he's got a company.
Yeah. Like Star Wars Theory is a brand.
Yeah. Him Theory Sabers. He has Theory Sabers now. He makes custom sabers.
Yeah.
And that's it's a very successful business.
Yeah. So this is like, the issue is he is without doubt the largest like Star Wars fan content creator, right?
Yep.
Has, I think, just shy of the official Star Wars YouTube channel's subscription number. Honestly, at this point, is probably going to overtake him.
Yeah.
But because he is not like in outright support of this show and in the direction in general that Disney and Lucasfilm are taking Star Wars, they blame every single piece
on him.
Yeah, like every single piece of like negative feedback or criticism or any of that, they just sweep under the Star Wars Theory rug. And it's like, it's getting fucking boring, man. Like these same excuses that you hear every time a movie or a show or a game comes out, where it's like, oh, this is a dog shit piece of content. And then how do they defend it? Oh, you're a bigot.
Yeah, I feel like Asmon and Star Wars Theory are kind of like the two. They're the ones that everybody goes to as like it's their fans who are just incels and whatever the word
and here's
is.
the thing, like, I don't even agree with Star Wars Theory on everything. I just see him as like a guy in the community. Sometimes he has a decent take. Sometimes his take, I think, is dog shit. Like, he didn't like Andor. That's a dog shit take.
Yeah, Andor's great.
Read a book, you fucking nerd. But yeah, I mean, in general, I think a lot of us feel the same way, where it's like, oh, maybe there was like one good scene in this or that, but then like the overall direction of like who the fuck is Acolyte made for?
I honestly don't know. People who don't like Star Wars are like super casuals.
I don't think a casual dude. I just kept thinking today while I was like mopping the floor at work. I was like, even if I remove the like Star Wars context from the show and I just look at the show in a vacuum, this is a dog shit show.
Yeah, it's not very good.
But then you put it into the context of Star Wars and it's that much worse.
Yeah, that's true.
And then like the canon breaking stuff, I know you said it doesn't really matter because George fucked with his own shit. George kind of has the right to fuck with his own shit.
That's true.
Taking his characters and like fundamentally changing the features or like aspects of an entire species, so you can put one character who said something in a movie into a show that's supposed to be like what 40 to 60 years before the character was even born, right?
Yeah,
like it's just disrespectful. It's disrespectful to like your fans, to the thing you're making, and to anyone who ever liked the fucking thing in the beginning to begin with.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Breathe.
Lucasfilm hates us.
No, they just hate you.
Now, look here, little buddy. You're a white male as well.
That's true.
I'm not gonna let you hide under the Jewish rug because of that big ass nose either.
Okay, so let's clear this up. So that is real. Like, he's not making a racist joke. I mean, he is making a racist joke, but I am Jewish. Yeah. Okay, keep going.
You're not Jewish, dude. When's the last time you went to temple?
What? No, I don't practice. I'm not practicing. I don't. Listen,
Bruh,
there's
I've never seen you in a yarmulke. You ain't Jewish, bro.
My God. We have just a fundamental misunderstanding as to what we're talking about here. Anyway.
All right. Anyway, the bigger news. This is the one that I was kind of glad that our episode got postponed because there's a little guy. His name is James O'Keefe.
Yeah, listen,
James
he's
O'Keefe.
like an alt-right crazy guy, so
he's a dork ass.
What'd you say?
He's a dork ass, for sure.
Yeah, 99.9% of his takes are dog shit, so don't necessarily like
anyone who unironically says woke is a fucking dork ass, all right?
Yeah, he's one of those.
Dork ass.
Yes, dork ass.
Head stuck up his own ass.
Yes.
And inside of his own ass,
he has found an employee from Disney.
All right, so, oh Jesus, dude, what was that guy's name? It was something Giordano, I think.
Something like that.
Anyway, this guy managed to get a couple girls to go on dates with this guy who was the 20th Century Television vice CEO and team lead. And he had a lot of interesting things to say to these girls he was going on dates with. I didn't know it was that easy to get information out of people.
Like what, Andrew? What interesting things did this man say?
Well, a very interesting one was that Disney won't hire white guys and that they have codified language to signal essentially when they do not want to hire white people for a position.
No, Disney? You're talking about Disney now?
Yeah. Walt
Disney
Disney,
does this? No.
his frozen head came up out of the cryogenic grave and he said, "No more usual suspects."
I have a hard time feeling that there would be any type of strange social hiring practices at a company as large as Disney.
Yep. No, not in the day and age of like IBM and every other major corporation having class action lawsuits brought against them because they won't promote certain ethnicities.
It's crazy.
Anyway, this guy essentially on dates was outright admitting to these girls that he was going on dates with that Disney won't hire won't hire white guys. And he had a very interesting anecdote as well about a half black man who was up for a promotion, and he was, and this is a quote, not black enough for what they were looking for. Squints. What?
It's
The
so.
black guy was not black enough.
Well, that's so offensive too to that guy who's clearly, worked hard enough to get up for promotion, and then to be told that like it's all around. It's not good. It's just not good.
Yeah, and then in another conversation, the interviewer, this girl that's on a date with him, asks him, "Do you think you'll get promoted to a department head?" And he was like, "No, I don't think so. Like, I think I'm qualified. I think I have the experience. I think I'm well suited and well positioned for it. But I don't think that they're looking for my kind of person." And Ben essentially says for a white guy, a white male. So it's he knows that there's potentially bigoted actions being taken against him, and on top of that he admits, actually, yeah, I have friends in HR who have told me that I got passed over for certain positions because they were looking for people who were not white and male. It was the information coming out of this dude's mouth was just fucking mind-boggling. It was to the point where, in another quote, he was like, "It feels like it's at the point where there's going to be a lawsuit soon." And this is a dude who's a lawyer, very legally minded, is saying this.
And this is the kind of stuff that we all know is happening, but you just don't hear it voiced very often.
No.
Yeah.
But apparently, pretty girl and some alcohol, you can get anyone to say anything.
A pretty person and some alcohol can get in most people to say anything. It's true. It's true.
You won't believe what I say with enough alcohol.
I mean, I believe it. I think I've seen it.
So another quote he had
Go
was
ahead.
about the top writers at Disney. He said that, oh shoot, what was the quote? It was something along the lines of, the top writers at Disney are probably a little bit more LGBTQ than the general population. And then he says, because the general population is what? 10 to 15% of the population is LGBT? And I was that number, I was whoa, that's a high estimate. That's probably the highest estimate I've ever heard. I don't think I've ever seen or heard numbers higher than 8 or 9%, and those were from LGBT sources.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that number shocked me. But then he went, Disney's top writers are probably 15 to 30% LGBT, and that's why so many of them try to tackle like trans issues and things in shows. Because they just feel like they're well suited to write about it. Just the demographic numbers there. I was like, these people are out of touch.
Yeah, they're, I mean, insanely so.
Yeah, because I remember recently hearing a study that was like how underrepresented are underrepresented people in television actually. And I think the LGBT numbers were like massively overrepresented in television, which I don't think it's an issue as long as it's done well, you know, and it's not like derailing the entire narrative of the show or something.
Right.
Because like TV shows shouldn't be fan fiction. It shouldn't just be like,
No.
unless it's Days of Our Lives or something, and
Yeah.
you're aware of what you are and you're just making the trash that you know it is, like a soap opera.
Funny enough, the best shows that I've seen are I think the best versions of those shows that I've seen that talk about those issues are the ones that deal with like growing up, because you're dealing with hormones anyway, and so like everybody can empathize with, like, you know, like Skins or Sex Education or like any of those types of shows. Tend to handle those things really well. Yep. I think the biggest problem with all of it is just there's a level of pandering that eventually you just realize that you're being pandered to, and that's kind of where everybody's at now, where like we all know that that's just pandering, and then very rarely you'll get like a really good representation of it in some piece of art because somebody actually got the shot to make good art.
Oh god,
but it wasn't.
That was another
like,
cringe. That was another cringe
like
piece
a
of writing.
corporation forcing pandering. Go ahead.
Yeah, just like talking about pandering there. That was another like cringe piece of writing in this Acolyte Episode 4.
Going back,
the little furry guy, and
Basil.
OSHA's like, is he, dramatic pause, or they with us?
Oh yeah.
And you're just like, what the fuck? She hasn't asked like anyone else's pronouns, and then like you're gonna take a whole moment to be like, what's the fuzzy little furball's pronouns? And the funniest thing was that I saw an article where someone who was like gay or LGBT or something was essentially like, this sucks, this writing sucks, and it's happening in like every show where like the person is getting othered now, and you just have this like the trope of Blorbo the alien, right? Where it's like, Blorbo is an amorphous gray mass. What are their pronouns? And it's like, come on, man. That's our representation. That's insane.
Yeah, it is bad.
Look at the ugly ass little screaming furball. It's our representation.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like, I feel like they're swinging and they're not swinging at the same time, if that makes sense. So like the punches that, if they wanted to, like I heard Star Wars Theory say this, and he was like, give me a great Jedi show with a non-binary Jedi, but make it a great Jedi show first, right? Like, it's Star Wars, so like the Star Wars should be front and center, and then like he's like, I don't care about all the other stuff. He goes, like, if you want to put that in there, that's totally fine with me. He goes, but the Star Wars should be most important because it's Star Wars, right? That's the world we're playing in. And I was like, that's such a good way to put it. And that's honestly how I feel. Like, I would love to see representation across the board in any of these IPs. But if you're going to do the representation at a cost to the integrity of the storytelling or the character development or the whatever, then I don't know. It doesn't feel great.
Like, do you remember that Amazon movie, The Tomorrow War?
And I
with Chris
understand.
Pratt?
Yes, but I understand that I'm saying this as a straight white guy. Like, but I have seen voices in the LGBTQ community online voicing similar concerns to what I'm saying here. But
Well,
I would be curious as a whole what the majority of the community feels, because I haven't heard that.
Well, I
very
had a
much.
friend who was teaching high school, and he said one of the students, who was a black kid, they were talking about movies one day, and the kid brought up, he was like, dude, I hate how they're doing all these things with these like black characters that are just like bad. They're just bad. And my friend was like, yeah, I kind of feel you. But
Yeah,
then we were talking about like The Tomorrow War, which came out in 2021. It's Chris
yeah.
Pratt.
The
It's an okay
Chris Pratt
movie. It's a fine movie.
It's all right.
It's not particularly groundbreaking in any way, but like the whole like resolution of the movie is like Chris Pratt's the only white guy in the room, and it's like Chris Pratt, black guy, black kid who like knows everything about volcanoes because he's like that's his that's the flavor of his tism, and like together they all figure out what's going on, and then Chris Pratt and the little gang can go like kill the alien that crashed on Earth and like prevent the whole quote Tomorrow War.
Right.
And it was like, yeah, you had so many characters on screen that weren't white people, but it was not like, oh, I'm here because I'm a black person and this is what my people need, the representation, you know, and you're like, there's not all this like derailment. It's like, yeah, they're just characters, they're there and things get done because of it, and it works out thematically and for the story, right? Like,
Yeah,
you knew
it's
that the kid was
it's you when you knew you weren't being pandered to, right? That's the
Yeah.
difference. It's just not pandering,
yeah, 100%.
and that's the big thing. It's just because like I do think it is important that there is diversity in casting and in production and in C-suites and all of that stuff. But it's like it can't be at the cost of like you need to cast a diverse cast, but cast a good diverse cast, right? Like good actors.
Yeah, and like I don't think anyone's saying anything bad about the cast of The Acolyte except for Leslie Headland's wife, who's a fucking plank of wood.
Yeah, she's not very good. She's not a very good actor.
Yeah, I wonder how she got hired. I wonder if she maybe slept with the producer? That'd
Director.
be weird.
Showrunner.
That'd be weird. Be weird
Well,
if you could sleep with the showrunner and get a
Stop
job from that.
stop while you're behind.
Man, I feel like someone got in trouble for that. Wasn't it?
Abandoned ship.
Was it Harvey Weinstein?
I'm losing you, Andrew. I can't understand what you're saying.
Harvey Weinstein, I think? Wasn't he
I don't understand what's happening.
giving
I think
jobs
I gotta go to bed.
people?
I gotta go to bed.
Yeah, so anyway. Again, if you start with the character and just make a good character, it doesn't matter what their race is, or what the freaking gender is, or what the fucking sexuality is. The character's gonna be good if the character's good. God damn it.
You didn't have to swear at the end there, but you're right.
Look, the moral of this little parable, the parable of the Disney that grew too big.
Winnie the Pooh.
Don't be a bunch of fuckwits, man.
Speaking of fuckwits, what's going on with Black Myth Wukong?
All right. Okay, buddy.
Fuck the Chinese Communist Party. Let's go.
I don't even know where to start with this one. All right, so there was a big post that blew up, went viral, because it essentially said Black Myth Wukong extorted for $7 million by Sweet Baby Incorporated, or like refused to be extorted for $7 million by Sweet Baby Incorporated. I'm dying. This episode is killing me.
You're fine.
All right. So the post, and this came out in Chinese. It was a Chinese guy that said this. I have no clue what his connection to any of these companies or anything is. I honestly, I would have looked into it deeper, but I just don't care at this point.
It's good to know.
Here's the English translation of what the guy said. The reason why the team behind Black Myth Wukong has been subjected to persistent sexist attacks and slander since their first promotional video is because they have consistently refused political correctness guidance and rejected the extortionate guidance fees of millions of dollars demanded by these political correctness teams. Actually, such teams are quite common in Europe and America. They interfere with works like Assassin's Creed, Dying Light 2 Stay Human, and God of War. And almost certainly if Scott was here, he would heavily disagree with the God of War part. By pushing for politically correct female protagonists, these changes are the direct result of the interference and guidance of such teams. Game science teams refuse to communicate with these groups and reject their interference. Most importantly, they refuse to pay the exorbitant $7 million in guidance fees. This is the direct reason why they are being attacked and slandered. Some justifications are based on the team's lack of diversity or representation, which doesn't align with the political correctness standards. A typical example is an article by a major IGN writer criticizing Hogwarts Legacy and refusing to evaluate or promote it due to its alleged lack of political correctness. The issue with Hogwarts Legacy that they're referencing there is obviously that a lot of people believe that Joan, what's her name?
J.K. Rowling.
J.K. Rowling.
Joan? Did you say Joan?
Joan.
Oh my!
Oh
my god!
Is it Joan?
Keep going. Just go. Just go.
Anyway, yeah, Joan. We're on a first name basis, me and Joan.
Okay.
Joan Rowling.
What did
you might have heard?
What
she wrote?
What happened with Joan?
So. The internet claims that she is a TERF, which is a trans exclusionary radical feminist.
I mean, she is a TERF. Just she is.
I would disagree with that on the basis that she has said many times, I will support trans individuals except where they're trying to bring trans individuals into like women's shelters, right? Which this is a whole different ballpark. We're gonna stay out of this actually.
Yep. Yeah, I don't want to go down this road.
There's a really interesting conversation about women's prisons.
What? You were gonna take this conversation to women's prisons?
Yep. There's a lot of very interesting things happening in women's prisons in California.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Look, there are people willing to game the system for their benefit, all right? And a lot of them end up in jail because they're criminals. And criminals are going to do criminal shit, okay? And they do it, even in prison. Anyway, Black Myth Wukong.
Yes. You rang.
I don't know. What do you feel about this? Because I honestly don't care at this point.
I think that game looks fire. I'm excited about it. And I think that there definitely is something going on with video games. And not just video games, but things at large, just in general. There's stuff going on. There's enough going on that it's suspicious.
My issue with this whole...
I don't understand why.
My issue with this whole post here is I don't understand why SBI would go to a Chinese company to try and do DEI stuff. My only thought is like maybe it was as simple as they saw Black Myth Wukong and they went, we're black, we can fix their game. But no, that's I think a very bad faith.
Yeah, I don't think it's that.
That's a bad faith joke.
Yes. I think it's more that realistically that they may have been contacted by a company that does something similar to Sweet Baby Inc. or something like that for the U.S. distribution of the game. But I don't know. I the thing with the whole SBI thing, Sweet Baby Inc. thing, is even if Sweet Baby Inc. isn't real, there is like it's just another thing going back to the pandering conversation of like, why are we doing this? Like, who is this for? Like, if it's for, for example, Black Americans, then why don't we just hire good Black creatives to make a good game for those people? For like, that's focused on the Black experience. Do the same thing for people in the LGBTQ community. Do that for the same thing in Asian communities. Do that.
Don't make a joke about San Andreas. Don't make a joke about San Andreas. Don't make a joke about San Andreas.
Saying is, there's a level of just like creative freedom that creators aren't given. Like, I saw a dev online who's a Black dev who's posted a screenshot of like, he was like, this is a reference photo that I sent for a character model for a character that I wrote, and this is what they sent back. And the character reference picture that he sent them was like a like attractive woman, like Black woman in the mirror wearing like, a costume that her character would wear in the game. And then the actual model that they sent back in the game is like a 55-year-old Black woman that is kind of like genderless. And he was like, I'm frustrated too that this is happening. I don't understand it either. And he posted that a couple days ago. And I was like, that's the problem, right? This guy's a Black dev, like, working at one of these companies, and even his ideas are being put through this filter. So the question is, like, who is this filter for? If it's not for Black Americans, and it's not for Black gamers, and it's not for, female gamers, and it's not for LGBT gamers, then who is it for? What's the point? And that's the question that I keep running into that I can't find an answer for. Very strange.
I don't know either, because sometimes you'll hear this thing, right, where it's like, oh, well, the character looks different from the voice actress because, like, we just can't model, we can't do character models with that much accuracy. And now you've got these posts floating around of male people who voice male characters, and the character is very clearly, like, mapped from the actual actor's face. They look almost one for one. If anything, the game versions a lot of time are even more attractive than the actual actor, which is unheard of on the female side. But then on the female side of the little fucking thing, you got these very pretty voice actresses, and the characters are like monsters from the Muppets.
Yeah, and it's funny though, because then there's certain games like Baldur's Gate or, Elden Ring or whatever, where the female character models are like, I mean, Elden Ring, you can make your own character to the, like, pretty extensively, but
I'll be real with you, there is one pretty face for the Baldur's Gate women. All the rest are like exaggerated racial features. It's like very obviously Black woman's face, very obviously Asian woman's face, ugly white woman's face, kind of pretty face.
I disagree.
Goblin face.
I disagree.
Okay. Disagree all you want. How many hours you got in that game?
I beat it a couple times. So, I don't know. Probably 100 something.
Interesting.
Yeah, I really like that game. It was really fun. But yeah, I just think there's a push. It's happening. I don't know why, but it also is like seemingly touches some things.
For my own clout on Baldur's Gate, 257 hours. All right,
dude.
Never beat the game. You want to know how many characters I've made?
A lot.
Double digits.
Why?
Because I love making new characters.
Dude, I beat the game with my first character that I made. I beat the game.
What a fucking dork ass. No one does that.
I did that. Dude, I'm playing the Elden Ring DLC on the character that I created on my New Game Plus, on the character that I created day one of Elden Ring. You know how many Elden Ring characters I have? 2. You know how many characters I have on Baldur's Gate? 2.
Oh my god, dude.
You know how many times I've played?
Disgusting.
Yeah. Starfield, 1 character. Oblivion, 1 character. Skyrim. You know how many characters I've created in Skyrim in my whole life? On every console that I've ever bought it. Or PC or whatever, because I bought it like 5 times. Every time, I have 1 character.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Welcome to hell.
You're disgusting.
So fun.
I sometimes contemplate deleting Darktide characters just so I can make new ones. Even though it's the exact same mechanics, it would just be a different looking character.
That's hilarious. You guys creating your multiple characters, silly willies.
Anyway, it's way harder to make a pretty girl in a video game as your like player character than it was like 10 years ago. I'll say that. You can't dispute that, can you? Bitch.
I mean, it seemed harder since it's just not happening as much very often, which is weird because, yeah, it's just weird. Things are weird. We'll always have Princess Peach and Princess Zelda.
Yeah. Dude. To wrap it back around to Star Wars.
Here we go.
Back in the day, whenever the Old Republic was good, and it wasn't like nickel and diming you for every feature that should be in the fucking game to begin with. I had so many hot Twi'leks.
Oh my gosh. The truth comes out.
Actually, the first time I sat down to play that game, I was playing with 2 other friends, and we were like, let's just make like a 1-to-1 version of ourselves in the game. All right. So my friend Jake, big burly blonde guy, makes a big burly blonde guy for his character. This other kid that I don't talk to anymore makes a very edgy emo looking character. And
you made a hot Twi'lek.
No, I made a Sith who was very obviously like the Asian woman face, and I said, Asian woman is my Star Wars race.
Oh my god.
And I've still got that character somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're a problem. Somebody arrest this man.
I was transgender and racial in video games way before it was cool.
Definitely. Somebody needs to come arrest this man. He's lost the plot.
Yeah, this Black Myth Wukong stuff though. I don't know. Like, if they really are charging $7 million for guidance fees for doing DEI consultancy, that's a lot, man.
Yeah, it's like Scott said, we should open up our own firm.
It makes me wonder if, like, what are the writers being paid, right?
What are the what?
What are the writers being paid for these things? Because if the writers are making $7 million off of these games, I really wonder how worth it actually is to pay basically like twice the writing budget to have one person or a team of people write like 8 hours of content and have another team of people come in and just nitpick it.
Yeah, it seems pretty wild.
Hey, this character that's French and has a baguette and a stereotypical mime costume on. What if they were black? What if they were Asian?
Well, even then, there's a lot of weird things happening with like racism towards Asian people right now on the internet. That's with this Assassin's Creed thing has kind of stirred that up. It's been, I mean, I've stayed out of it for the most part. I don't like to interact with that stuff because I don't think it's helpful. But the amount of people that I've seen that say Asians are white adjacent, I've never heard that term before, but I feel like I have some Asian friends, and I feel like if I was Asian, I feel like that'd be very offensive for somebody to say to me. So I don't understand why that's a thing.
At one point in a Discord we were in, that I was in, I had there were 3 Jasons in the Discord server. One of them was Filipino, one of them was white, and I can't remember what the third was. He was like Australian or something. So it was like Asian Jason, young Jason, and like Australian Jason. And so anytime you were like talking to someone, you'd be like, "Yeah, Jason said," and they're like, "Jason?" And you're like, "Oh,
which one?
Asian Jason." As opposed to ancient, decrepit old man Jason, who's also Asian. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I can't wait to get out of this era of like everyone's defining characteristic either being their race or their sexuality.
Yeah, it is weird. It is like a weird time where of people. I feel like there's just a general like feeling of not knowing anything, where we are, what our place is, what's going to happen in the world. And so people are kind of like, you know, doubling down on what they feel safe on doubling down on, which is, you know, who they are as an individual.
Just sucks that a lot of time that if who you're trying to fuck or who you want to fuck you is your defining characteristic, that's just boring.
Yeah, it can be.
It's such a like high school vision of the world.
Yeah.
I feel like people are more defined by their values. And it used to be we had a country of like shared values, I think. Where like everyone was at least like trying to.
We used to be a society. What happened?
It just feels like. It feels like the art is really suffering, and that's why AI is able to get such a like graphic foothold within the arts in particular, right?
Yeah.
It's just frustrating.
It is frustrating.
Especially too if you're like just like the language that happens around a lot of these discussions where it's like, oh, white guy, you living in America, you're like, you profited, or you or your family profited off of slavery. It's like, I'm a pretty good example of not that, because my family was dirt poor German farmers in Pennsylvania and Irish immigrants in like North Carolina who had like a pig farm.
Gross.
Never had slaves. And I think I've brought that up on the podcast too, where it's like, yeah, I mean, I am a white guy.
Part of the problem.
Apparently. I profiteered off of generations of slavery.
I could have told you that. How dare you?
You know what I did hear recently? This was a pretty funny joke.
Uh-oh.
Never mind. I won't say it.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
It has to do with Irish people and people in the Middle East.
Yeah, we should probably just end the podcast. That was a good time. You've already danced close on the edge a few times. Potentially probably quite a few times. We should probably just wrap it up.
All right. If you listen to this point, you're unhinged. What a beautiful wizard you are. I'm continuing with the, if there's witches, there's got to be space wizards. So thank all of you space wizards for listening to this episode of Bad Pipes Podcast. If you like the music, that was Carl Casey at White Bat Audio. If you want to argue with Scott in particular, who wasn't on the podcast today, you can do that on Twitter at Bad Pipes Pod. If you wanted to email me a conversation about Star Wars Acolyte being best show 2024, you can do that at the email, which is cryptidworksofficial@gmail.com. And if you wanted to chill with the boys on Patreon, that's real easy. You can join the Space Wizards tier at $1 a month. We'll give you a shout out at the end of every episode.
The Space Wizards tier is only $1 a month?
Yeah, the Space Wizards tier is $1 a month, and a seat on the council is $10 a month.
What?
Yeah, so Space Wizards just says, like, get yourself a shout out and thanks at the end of every episode. And the a seat on the council is, you are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master. Take a seat, young wizard. I was laughing about that.
Good stuff.
So yeah, the Patreon. Did I even say it? It's patreon.com/badpipespodcast. Join the wizards. Maybe we'll get wizard shirts made at some point, and if you're on the Patreon, you'll get like first dibs on those.
First dibbies.
All right. Kiss your dog. Good night. Bye.
Bye.